Friends, family, fans, it's another episode of the Back Nine Bets with your local friendly neighborhood model maniac called Byron the Q. It's episode 90 of Back Nine Bets, and we are rocking and rolling with Max Min for the win. We've got 10 outrights, we've got a bunch of placements, we've got a matchup, and some one and done chat. I haven't even decided who the one and done is going to be, but we will know by the end of the show. You and me both. So that's going to be fun. We had a bit of a disastrous week last week. It is what it is. Bay Hill wasn't that kind to us in the live ad market in particular. It was a bit of a disaster. So we're going to have to figure that out going forward, but that's okay. You have a bad week. We've clawed our way back from the farmer insurance massacre, got ourselves back into profitability, and then we go and give it all away. Give it away now, like the Red Hot Chili Peppers at Bay Hill. So we're going to have to figure that out. We're going to claw ourselves back. We're going to hit an outright. We're going to hit some placements. We're going to hit some matchups, and we're going to have ourselves a good time watching the goddamn players. It's a fun tournament. It's going to be carnage. It's going to be fun. We've got some good golfers playing golf on a fun golf course that rewards good golf shots and sometimes not even. So that's going to be the situation. For a course preview, go check out my show that I did on Sunday night, the Sunday night research show. I kind of break down exactly what we're looking for, but just a high summary of what we're looking for. Golfers playing good golf, golfers who can keep their ball in the fairway, good iron players, and just a good general feel. We kind of found some good numbers out there too. So particularly, we're looking for guys playing some good golf entering the week and going from there. We're going to bet them outrights. We're going to have matchups or placements associated with those going through the show. As always, the show is brought to you by rotoballer.com. Use code MANIAC for 10% off. You can get my showdown model. You can get my PJ Stat Buffet. You can get the model that we're using on the show right here for that too. So I want to point that out to you guys. Use 10% off using code MANIAC. It helps me. It helps you. The whole shebang. Closing out Discord just so we can have no more noise in the background. It's going to be a fun show. We've got the Discords getting revamped. We are looking good over there at rotoballer.com. Spencer just hit Scotty Scheffler. You have access to all of his stuff. You have access to his model. You have access to his articles that have all of his bets. He's been crushing the live ad stuff. Joe Idoni's popping all his head-to-head matchups in the Discord as well. He's been crushing this year. It's a very affordable product for a very, very, very useful spending of your money there. So just if you're in the mood for that, come ahead and join us over there at the Rotoballer team and start rotoboarding like a boss, because that's the best situation. And then let's dive into some players stuff here. We're going to dive into the players. We're going to dive into the model. We're going to dive into some outrights. We're going to try and keep them relatively short. We're going to try and hit the high points, kind of explain exactly why we're doing some stuff. I'm trying to zoom in on the wrong screen. It's been a long day. This is my fourth podcast of the day. This is the nature of the beast. It's the players. It is what it is. I've enjoyed every single show I've been on. It was a fun time. By the way, for those of you that think I didn't have a blue eye, it is now gone. It was just a little bit of makeup on the Pat Mayo show. Don't stress. A little bit of a bit because I got beat up pretty bad at the Cognizant Classic. We're going back to a few guys that beat us up, so we'll have to see how that goes. But we kind of filtered on the upside portion of the model. We got Scotty Scheffler sitting here first overall for safety and upside. Surprise, surprise. The guy is now a beast because he can now putt. He finally got himself out of having to win twice to be profitable. So he won, and now he's still $87 in the hole if you bet Scotty Scheffler at every single tournament. So congratulations to those of you that hit him last week. If you bet him every single week, you're in trouble. I doubt that's the case, but just kind of putting that out there. He has now eclipsed $1,000 returned in the T20 market, which doesn't make any sense, but yet here we are. You'd have to invest a lot because the top 20 for Scotty Scheffler, according to Bet the Number over here, is a casual minus 280 for Scotty Scheffler top 20. But if you can lay $280 every time Scotty Scheffler goes out there to play golf, you would have won $1,050 over the last 12 months. Quite the situation. He's finishing inside the top 20 89% of the time. Unbelievable. Unbelievable stuff. So that's what we're going to be doing this week. Not a top 20, but we're going to be doing about as good as. And that's going to be a casual little Scotty Scheffler top 10 at minus 138 over at Bet365. They pay their ties out in full. Scotty Scheffler would have returned you $904 in the top 10 market had you bet to win 100 every single tournament he played in, because he's finishing inside the top 10 80% of the time, 79% of the time. At minus 138, that's implying odds of 58%. So jump that by 20%. I feel like that's a pretty solid edge. The guy is playing amazing golf at a golf course that's going to really reward his ball striking. You don't need me to tell you too much more about Scotty Scheffler's game in order to tell you why we are betting him. I just think there's a bit of value involved in that bet there at minus 138 over at Bet365. So we like that a lot. We were kind of eyeing out a top 5 as well, but we're just going to rock and roll with the casual top 10 there at some negative odds. As you can see, the weighted proximities, the weighted green regulation rates, the weighted strokes gain, all are going to be number one in this field full of superstars. That's what Scotty Scheffler does, particularly with the wedge, particularly from 150 to 200, and he's actually third in strokes gain from 200 and out. Number one in the field is Tony Finau, who will be very interesting to chat about here shortly. But that's the situation with Scotty Scheffler. I'm not going to kind of bore you with all the details about his game. If he keeps playing good golf, a top 10 is a 80% certainty according to his last 12 months, and we feel like there's a bit of an edge there at minus 138. So that's the situation. Off the bat, Scotty Scheffler in the hizzy. I was even contemplating just betting Scotty Scheffler. Just take your entire money, your entire bankroll for the week, and just bet the guy. He's one of the most profitable golfers on the market right now. Like, they're not even really aggressively out. His outright odds are pretty crap, but his placement market is very affordable. Like plus 130 for a top 5. He's top 5ing 63% of the time. Plus 130 is what? An implied probability of 43%. He's doing it 20% more in the last 12 months. So that's the situation you're getting with Scotty. They're not really outpricing him in the placement situation. So he's a very fair bet if you're willing to kind of lean into the fact that those are the odds you're going to be getting. Next up on the slate is going to be our guy. And this is the upside model. We're obviously going to have incredible upside because it's a lot of approach play. It's a lot of recent form and some putting. And Mathieu Pavon at 100, that's not it. Let's find the actual thing, yeah. Mathieu Pavon at 150 to 1. For a win this week. It'll be his second win of the year. That's okay. I believe there's been multiple Players Champions that have won prior to the Players, the year of, which makes tons of sense. The guys like to do their thing, and good golfers play good golf at the Players. That's basically the theme here. So Mathieu Pavon enters the week with the 6th best strokes gained in the field for 2024. So my new stuff over here is not for the last 24 rounds. It's since the new year has begun. And Mathieu Pavon has gained the 6th most total strokes. He's the 22nd best approach player in the field and the 2nd best putter. If he can rock and roll on the greens, hit those irons tidy, we are looking good. The off the tee numbers are a little disappointing, but I think at a venue like this, where distance isn't a prerequisite, we can see Mathieu kind of handling himself a little bit better due to the nature of the beast that is TPC Sawgrass, where it's not a driver-intensive golf course. You can hit 3-woods, you can hit drivers. The shorter hitters can continue to hit drivers when everyone else has to lay up with 3-woods. That's the situation. I think Mathieu finds himself in that range. He's about average off the tee distance-wise. We don't really have the best metrics for him because he's only had, how many shot link rounds on this 19? So he's only had 19 shot link rounds, and as a result, we don't really have a solid track record for approach play, but that's okay. From what we've seen, he's been pretty good with the irons. So we're going to deal with that. And just know, at 150 to 1, that's just utter disrespect for somebody that is arguably a top 10 golfer on the PGA Tour right now. And that's a very short sample size, but that's what we have. That's the information we got, and we're going to use it applicably. So that is Mathieu Pavon's situation. He is a casual 150 to 1. I believe he's still like 120 to 1 out there still. By the way, how you can justify dropping a bit of bucks at rotoballer.com. I put my outright bets in the Discord every Monday morning. So you will have access to those in the Discord for the premium subscribers. And as you can see, pretty much all of the bets we're going to be making here are going to have shortened for the most part since I posted them in there. So if you're in the mood, you won't be betting the same bets. If you don't have the premium stuff, you're going to be finding worse odds if you don't have access to that and if I don't get my Photoshops out there in time. Wow, wow, wow. Let's move on down the board. By the way, DFS dollars per point. He's averaging 79 points per tournament so far, and it's a casual $85. If you kind of make this by smallest to largest, that could be the best one in the entire model. Okay, Hitsatsuni at $6,200, and then Chan Kim, Dylan Wu, Sami Valimaki, and Mathieu Pavon. So that's like he's an extreme value from a DFS per point standpoint. Standpoints for points. So that's the situation there. We are going to be heavily involved in Mathieu Pavon. We'll be chatting about that on the BetSperts DFS show tomorrow with Ron. So join in there, I believe, at 1:15 or 1:30 tomorrow over at BetSperts. Third up in the model is Alex Xander Schauffele. We're not going to be betting him. We're not going to be doing anything with this guy. We're just kind of going to leave him alone. I don't know. I don't have a good feeling about him. We're just going to hang. We're going to hang tight and see what he does. I don't know if I'm going to be playing him in DFS. Who the heck knows? He's been balling out, though. That's for sure. So we'll see. What's Xander's situation? For a top 20, it's plus 110. I guess that's gone up a bit since it's drifted backwards a touch. He's inside the top 20 68% of the time, but guess what? Xander at this venue has had a second, a miscut, and a 20th or 19th. So there's not necessarily the best track record ever, and we've also had a bit of iffy stuff. He cost us a top 20 at the API because we bet him live, got all the way up to T21 after round 2, then got himself blown off the golf course in round 3 because he's a softie. He cannot play good golf in the wind. Patrick Cantley, whatever, we're going to just kind of skip over him, going to skip over Rory, and get to our guy, Wyndham Clark. He's 6th in the model. We love that about him because he has just been absolutely dominant in the most recent part of the year. 9th in the field in strokes gain total. He has been a bit inconsistent, but that's okay. We've had a 27th place finisher at the Players in 2023, right before he broke out at Quail Hollow for the Wells Fargo, where he won his first PGA tournament, then went on to win the US Open, then went on to win Pebble Beach Pro-Am, and then finished 2nd at the API last week. If we can see him dominate the way he did tee to green with the putter, the whole shebang at this golf course, we're in business. And I think what I like about him is the fact that he's a par 5 beast. He dominates those par 5s. And the thing about Wyndham Clark is he's very sporadic off the tee, very, very inaccurate. If you take a look at what he gets up to, he's actually not the worst. I know it says here less than 7,200 yards, which is 107th ranking for him off the tee there. But at the Players last year, he gained, I think, over 4.5 strokes off the tee. He can dial it in with those long irons off the tee when everyone else is hitting drivers. He still keeps it in play pretty nicely. Drove the ball fantastically here. I think we can look forward to a good performance from Wyndham Clark. And guess what? We forgot to put his thing up here. Wyndham Clark is a casual 35-1. Very casual 35-1. I feel like that's still underpriced. The guy can pop. He goes hard at the paint. 26% of the time he's inside the top 5, finishing inside the top 40 with regularity. So we're going to bet Wyndham Clark. That's the situation there. And I guess we're also just going to kind of roll through with the placement bets at the same time because I'm not going to double back. We're going to just speak about the guy as we go. So we're going to rock and roll with a T5 at plus 650 for Wyndham as well. If you take a look at his T5 rate over the last 19 starts, aka the last 12 months, it's rather delightful. Plus 650 means that's a 13% implied probability. He's doing it 26% of the time. So that's double what they're telling us. Yes, this is a bigger field. Guess what? Wyndham Clark in the big fields plays his best golf. So we love that. We love him as like a mini hedge there. If we don't have him winning the tournament, he's still going to take care of business for us in the T5 market at plus 650. That's what we want to do. So just to double back on Mathieu Pavon, we're also going to bet him for a top 40 at plus 140. We love what that situation looks like. We're going to take a bit of a passive approach there. I feel like maybe his foot might be coming off the gas a touch in his 8 starts, though he's finished inside the top 40 63% of the time. At plus 140, that is a 42% implied probability. So we got a 21% edge over the last 8 rounds in that market. Yes, it's a much difficult field, blah, blah, blah. I feel like this course suits his game a bit better. We've spoken about that already. So that's Mathieu Pavon's situation. I haven't seen a single comment come through on the chat. Very disappointed in the chat so far. 15 minutes into the show. I don't care what it is. You guys better send some stuff through so I don't fall asleep behind the wheel over here. Also, shout out to my man, Joe Idoni, who's out there at the Players, been hanging around in the media room. We got the Preferred Line shirt on, having a good time. Go check out his show with Steve Bamford. A great show. I was loving listening to them earlier today, prepping for some other stuff. 2 very, very knowledgeable individuals talking about one of the best golf tournaments on the schedule. Moving on to our next player for the betting card. His name is Benny freaking On, and he has been on fire. The guy surged up the leaderboard on Sunday to give us a top 10 and salvage what was a rather disappointing outing for us at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. The computer is freezing on me. That's okay. We know exactly what we're talking about Benny On about. His top 40 rates is 70%, but he's also finishing inside the top 10 in the last 23 starts, 23% of the time. That to me is just a complete smash play, 26% of the time. At plus 500 for a top 10, that's implying a 17% probability. So we've got a nice little 9% edge there. We don't mind going to Benny On in that market whatsoever. I think we really like him at this golf course because Benny On, right over here, is a really good wedge player. And with his distance off the tee, he can find himself hitting some good iron approach plays, iron approach shots, and hitting them close. 14th in the field in good shot rate. He's also very, very good at hitting his long irons into the long holes from 200 and out. So we'll see what Benny On can get up to. Hits a few bad ones here and there. He's been balling out. If you take a look at what his recent situation has been, he's had a 30th, a 26th, and a 35th in his 4 starts at the Players. I think with the broomstick putter, we can expect him to putt better. From what I remember on the research stream, it seems like Benny On actually putted okay on these greens. So now that we got the broomstick, we can expect even better performances from Benny On at 90-1. This year, since the Century, he had a second at the Sony. I believe the Century was a top 5 as well. Then we got an 8th place finish at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, a 16th at the Genesis, and a 21st at the Cognizant Classic. He's been playing great golf. He's been here for the Pavon love. What's up, T-Dac? I appreciate that. The Pavon love, baby. We're going to paint that town blanc, rouge, and bleu. I think it's going to be a fun time. Jeff in the house saying, I am here for me. Yes, thank you, brother. I was wondering what's going on here. I need you guys to keep me motivated, keep me involved, because I've done 3 hours of shows already today. And now this is the 4th hour. I'm kind of drained a little bit. So I'm trying to bring the energy, bring the heat for you guys. But the chat's like a freaking Arctic Circle over here. You know, the chat's about as warm as Shane Lowry is on a Sunday afternoon when he's trying to win a golf tournament. It's just frigid. So I appreciate that. What would you be considered to be some good course comps? Sure, Miles, if you didn't realize that I did a research show that does this, where I go over these things, but because you're commenting in the chat, how about we chat about it? TPC Southwind, Harbortown Golf Links, Innisbrook Resort Copperhead Course, and Sedgefield Country Club. Those are the 4 comp courses that I thought worked out quite nicely. I think they are funnily enough, 2 courses that Lucas Glover has played well at, which I just realized today. So we're kind of in the mood for that. So getting back to Benny On, he's actually really tidy off the tee on these courses that requires clubbing down. Despite having 146th worst or like really bad accuracy in this field, he's 24th in strokes gained on shorter golf courses off the tee. So we don't mind that whatsoever. He kind of clubs down very well. He's played well at the Honda. This is another situation. I think you can say PGA National also not a terrible comp course there, Miles. So if you're looking for more information about this golf course, more things that I'm kind of looking at, the first 15 minutes or so of my research show has all of that for you. Shane Lowry, let's chat about him. Sure, why the hell not? He's next up on the slate for us to chat about, and we actually have a bet for Shane. Who would have ever thought we have a Shane Lowry bet? But we're going to bet Shane Lowry top 20 at plus 150. He's been doing top 20s at a 47% clip in his last 17 starts. I believe the last 2 starts have been top 10s. So top 5s, in fact, 3rd and 4th over there. The Farmers, he finished 25th despite having an albatross. So he's starting to find his feet underneath his Irish torso over there. At the Players, he's finished 46th, 8th, 13th, and 35th in his 5 starts, which isn't terrible. He's playing some really good golf. We can expect another top 20 from him most likely if he continues to play that kind of level of golf. Maybe he runs out of steam, maybe he doesn't, but he's made the cut here the last 3 times, an 8th, a 13th, and a 35th. So for me, plus 150 for a top 20 is the way to handle Shane Lowry this week. It's a 40% implied probability. Shane Lowry's finishing inside the top 20 on the PGA Tour at a 47% clip. Now, there are he's only played in 1 designated event, so that's not even that skewed by that kind of stuff. He wasn't playing good golf, but still finishing inside the top 20 about half the time. Interesting stuff there from Shane. So we get some nice numbers there. We like Shane Lowry on this kind of golf course going forward. Sungjae Im is another name I'm really in the mood to play in DFS. Hopefully his ownership doesn't get absolutely whacked, but we kind of like him. Moving on down. So this is the situation. We got a lot of maniac plays because there are not a lot of names at the top of the model that we bet. So the model's doing a pretty bad job of identifying the golfers we're looking for, but the odds on these golfers are also not necessarily the best. They're quite long and quite handy. So we're going to take a look at them. And there's a reason why they're down the board, but we're kind of hoping we can catch the guys before they break out. And we've got Sahith Theegala at 55-1. I think he's going to be a really rogue agent at this venue. We saw him make his cut here in the his second appearance at the Players, missed it in 2022. In 2023, finished 74th. He got off to an incredibly hot start in round 1, so that was good to see. If he can just keep his foot on the gas, now we're looking good. So far in 2024, this year we've had a 20th, a 5th, a 37th, and a 6th place finish since the year has begun. And that doesn't even include the second that we had at the Century with him. So that's 3 top 6 finishes for Sahith since the start of the year in a casual 7 starts. The 5th at the Waste Management Phoenix Open, he just ran out of juice. He was the only person from the crappy weather wave to find himself at the top of the leaderboard. Had he played in the nice weather, he might have had a bigger lead, or the same situation, but less energy had been used to kind of get to that score that he was at. I think he just burnt the candle far too hot the first 3 rounds trying to get through that crap weather and ran out of juice eventually. So unfortunately, that was the situation for us there. We've been on him when he's been close. Hopefully he can do it again. Played nicely at the API. And if you take a look at what Sahith's been doing and has typically held him back is off the tee. He's now 14th in this field, full of elite drivers of the golf ball off the tee. Sahith Theegala. If you take a look at his baseline from 2023, he was 106th in this field. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. He's jumped a casual 92 spots from his baseline in 2023 to what he's been up to this year. He won at the 40 net. This guy is going to be a superstar. We are seeing him blossom in front of our eyes. The comp courses at Sedgefield, at TPC Southwind, all those places, he's 7th in that rating. So It's only a matter of time. His skill set transfers to this, and I would not be shocked to see Sahith Theegala win a Players at some point. He's just that good of a golfer. He can do it in the Cam Smith mold, where he does it with short game, where he does it with incredible touch around the greens. He can chip in from just about anywhere. So I love Sahith Theegala for an outright at 55-1. We also love Sahith Theegala for a casual top where. What did we bet him for? We had a bet for him. What was the number? It was going to be a top 5. I think that's what we wanted to do. A Sahith Theegala top 5 is going to be plus 900, I believe. So play that if you are in the mood to follow along with the show here and see how it goes. Again, Sahith Theegala finishing inside the top 5 at a 17% clip. If we take a look, and one of them was a 6th place finish, so that was very close to last week. If you take a look at what plus 900 implies probability-wise, that's 10%. So we've got a 7% edge there. I understand he's been in a few designated events. It is what it is. I think he's still got the upside to finish inside the top 5 at a golf course like this. We'll have to wait and see. Would not be fun to have another top 5 with an outright and not benefit from that. So that's where we're going with Sahith. We love his potential. He's going to be a star. I think he already almost is. He's fun to watch golf because he doesn't have it in full control all the time, like Scotty Scheffler. Scotty is goddamn boring. He's so goddamn good, but he's so goddamn boring. So that's the problem. Checking in on the chat here before we jump into our next bet. I kind of like Larry in the mix on Sunday saying Patrick's Day finish. Yes, I understand. Just for that reason alone. Oh, Jesus. Yeah. Look, if you're in the mood for that kind of a narrative, go for it. We'll have to wait and see, but that's the situation there. Miles, we're going to chat about Russell Henley shortly. I think that's going to come up here in a bit. We're going to mention a nice little nickname that you didn't listen to if you didn't listen to the research show. And my main man T-Dax saying, yep, Sahith Theegala is basically a discount Jordan Spieth. He was a knockoff version of Cam Smith because he could get hot with the irons, was sporadic as heck off the tee, and very good with the short game. Now he's driving the ball well, so he ain't no more Cam Smith, and he can get hot with the irons and be amazing around and on the greens. So that's the situation there. We're going to have to see. What's up, B? Brian in the house. Let's go, baby. Woo-woo. Got a little Ric Flair in the chat. Really appreciate that. Let's get back to business over here with a guy by the name of Max Homa. He is going to be 33-1. The number moved back from 25-1 when it opened all the way back to 33, and then it's kind of rebounded back into the 20s again. So there's a 28 out there, I believe, the last time I looked. Max Homa, friends, goes as the putter goes. That's my opinion of Max. If there's one thing he does, it's putt well. If it's one thing he hasn't been doing lately, is putting well. Now we get Max Homa at a course that he's finished 6th and 13th at. Excuse me, hang on. Woo! Woo! We get Max Homa at a course that he's finished 6th and 13th at in his last 2 starts. 33-1. Putter has been bad. Let's take a peek at his baseline versus his actual. The putting, 42nd in this field over the last little while. That includes 4 rounds at the Arnold Palmer Invitational that had him as the 3rd best putter in the field. So that includes that. That's 4 of those 19 rounds were the 3rd best performance on the putting surfaces at the API. And he's only ranked 42nd. He's typically a very good putter. If we take a look at what he's been up to, we're not even focusing on a specific surface this week. We're just focusing on putting. And Max last year was 13th in this field in strokes gained putting. He kind of is consistent through the week, plays good golf pretty much every single round typically. There's no real specific like pattern there where he kind of falls off on Saturdays or Sundays. He just plays good golf when he's in contention. And I think he's one of the most savage golfers when he is in the mix. We've seen repeated failure from the likes of Xander, Cantley, Shane Lowry, At one point, Scotty Scheffler wasn't finishing tournaments. Max Homa, when he finds himself in the mix, is a savage. He closes the door. He will go toe-to-toe with the very best. He did it with Jon Rahm, who at the time was playing as good as Jon Rahm could possibly play. And Max was hanging with him, finished second. He's out-dueled Keegan Bradley twice. We've had Keegan Bradley outrights in both instances. We don't typically try. We've forced Max in the past on the outright card. This feels a bit more organic. At 33-1, I feel like the course history, the spike in putting, and just his overall vibes right now, I'm looking forward to seeing Max play some good golf. If he improves on that finish that he had last year, has he been getting better? Yeah. 13th. 13 minus 7 is 6. 6 minus 7 is 1. If you like that kind of math. So we'll see what he can do. But I like Max Homa this week. We'll make tons of birdies. We'll roll in tons of putts, hit lots of good irons. Let's see what he can do. We're also going to be betting Max Homa at plus 110 for a top 20. He is a top 20 beast. Even when he hasn't been playing good golf, he's been returning some serious returns there in that market. In this field, he's returning top 20 bets at the 8th best rate. So his top 20 odds will have returned you $381 if you bet him top 20 every single tournament to win $100. He's finishing inside the top 20 60% of the time. He's finishing inside the top 40 65% of the time. That's a 92% conversion rate from top 40 to top 20. So if you're betting Max Homa for a top 40, you're basically wasting a little bit of money in that, in my opinion, because if he's finishing inside the top 40, it's most likely going to be a top 20. So this is why I've kind of done this part of the model over here for you to see that there are certain scenarios where betting a person for top placement bets either works out or doesn't. And I feel like he's clipping top 20s quite nicely, and we will see him play good golf at the Players, hopefully once again at 33-1. He may, in fact, be my one and done this week. We will see. We will see. Woo Kim. Anyway, okay, moving on. Let's chat about Doug Ghim. We're going to be betting this guy at plus 333 for a top 20. If you take a look at what Doug Ghim does for us, it has been quite phenomenal over the last little while. He has returned you $332. We're kind of just jumping down the board here. But it returns you $332 if you're betting Doug Ghim for top 20s to win 100. So we love that about Doug Ghim. And he sees one of the biggest drop-offs outside of Ben Silverman on the PGA Tour. Yeah, but Ben's got a small sample size. In 26 starts, Doug Ghim is finishing top 20 in about a third of them. So what's that? Like 8 starts, 9 starts, where he's finishing, probably 9 starts, 35% of 26. Then, if you take a look at his top 10 rate, it's only 4%. So that is not good. 10% is 2.5. So that's one finish inside the top 10 in the last 26. Yet he's doing it 35% of the time for top 20. So that's the way to bet Doug Ghim. Plus 333 for a top 20. Guess what Doug Ghim's been up to at the Players? 29th in 2021, 6th in 22, missed the cut in 23. It is what it is. His last 4 starts on the PGA Tour, 13th, 12th, 8th, and 16th. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff. Hopefully he can take care of business for us. Plus 333, that was one of my bets. I think that was my bronze bet on the Pat Mayo show. Hopefully Doug can take care of business at plus 333. The implied odds are 23% for that number. He's doing it at a 35% clip. So we get a 12% edge in that department. Doug Ghim. Let's go. All right, so let's filter back on the model and see who was next on our betting agenda over here. So we're going to scoot past Sahith, past Max Homa, past Wyndham Clark. Let's chat about Brian Harman. So Brian Harman, if you take a look, and I can tell you this off the top of my head, 23 rounds of golf around the Players TPC Sawgrass. He's had finishes of a miscut in 2018. And then we have 4 consecutive made cuts that include an 8th and a 3rd in 19 and 2021. Brian Harman in 23 rounds. We have a random round there because of the COVID year. Brian Harman in 23 rounds has lost strokes off the tee only 4 times. He's gained strokes off the tee 19 of those 23 rounds. When he has lost strokes, it has been no worse than half a stroke. One of them was 0.05, one of them was 0.25, and I think the other was 0.4. It was a total of 1.2 total strokes that he's lost in 4 rounds of golf. The rest of the time, he's adding to his repertoire. He's keeping himself in play. And guess how he's been doing this year? 18th at the Sony, 12th at the APEI. So we're going to see some impressive golf from him coming into this week. And we're typically looking for golfers that are playing good golf. Brian Harman finished 12th at the API and did it with irons getting extremely hot. I think he ended up actually losing strokes putting or just barely gaining. His accuracy of the tee is amazing. He's solid on these shorter courses. And then we're going to take a look at Brian Harman's stuff. It's not very good for the year. But we're going to try and hopefully catch some lightning in the bottle after seeing some really good iron play. And Brian Harman, for an outright, is a very appealing 75-1. To me, that's just an incredible, credible number. It's a number that I don't think is even out there anymore. If we're taking a look at what Brian Harman's situation is, I'm not even going to try, and I can actually put it up for you right now. Brian Harman's current betting market sits at, why can't I find it? Brian Harman's current betting situation is a 60-1 over on DraftKings. So it's dropped by 15 points. I think that's still a pretty solid number out there at 60. I would grab that. If that iron play continues, we know the driver has been a very reliable source of strokes gain for him at the Players. If those irons show up and the putting returns back to kind of baseline putting for Brian Harman, we've seen him dominate with that short game where he was the champion golfer of the year at the US Open. So he's got pedigree. It's the Players. He's playing good golf in a very microscopic chasm of a vacuum that is the API. But at 75-1, we are willing to take that chance. So that's Brian Harman's situation for you. We are going to keep him rocking and rolling and lock him in for a top 5. I think looking at his profile from a betting standpoint, that was one of his most profitable situations. I'm not going to kind of overexpose myself to a Brian Harman top 20. I feel like there is potential that he like melts down. But a top 5, you don't have to invest that much for a plus 850 top 5. He has returned you your investment in that market. So at plus 850 for a top 5, we're going to get a implied probability of 11%, where he's actually finishing inside the top 5 18% of the time. So nice little 7% edge there. We don't want to be betting bets that don't have a long-term edge in our opinion. He's also been pretty profitable, would have returned $215 in that market to you over the last 12 months. So that's Brian Harman's situation. The Charmin Harman, hopefully he can get across the board. By the way, he's the rotoballer darling. Spencer's on Brian Harman. I'm on Brian Harman. Joe Idoni's on Brian Harman. And Ian McNeil is on Brian Harman. All 4 of us, I listened to Draws and Fades with Matty Mills and Owen Vrabel. I don't believe they bet Brian Harman. I did have to jump forward through a few parts of the show. I might have missed it, but 4 of your rotoballer staffers are on Brian Harman this week to win this tournament. What could possibly go wrong? Let's move on down. And I saw someone in the chat asking about Russell Henley. He is my gold bet on the Pat Mayo show. He is going to be Russell Sex Panther Henley at plus 170 for a top 20. We love it. He's the second most profitable top 20 bet you can make on the PGA Tour behind Scotty Scheffler. His odds are always plus money. In fact, they were starting at plus 220, I believe, on FanDuel when we were doing the research show. Henley finishes inside the top 20 65% of the time. Sex Panther works 60% of the time, 100% of the time. So this is what Russell Henley's doing. And if we filter in on top 20 rates, it's like incredible. He's like in the same situation as Xander and Cantley and the works, yet his top 5 rate, I guess, is kind of making its way back to profitability, but it wasn't for a while. He had a 4th at the Sony, had a 4th at the API. He wasn't ever really in the mix at the API. He kind of came flying up the leaderboard. So that's really helping him out there. No one would have expected him to play well at the API. So if he can bring that form into this week, we're going to love that. He's played well at the Players. He's got a 13th and a 19th in his last 2 starts after 3 consecutive missed cuts. He's figured it out apparently and finished 4th at the API. So he's playing good golf. Once he makes it into the weekend, he's starting to fire up as well, but he typically gets off to some slow starts, it seems. The thing about Russell Henley is his 2023 stats was 112th in putting last year. This year, he is, and I repeat, Russell Henley is 21st in a field of 154 golfers. He's 21st in strokes gained putting. What is happening? He's 19th around the greens. That's normal. That's what he does. But he's 80th on approach. So this is a concern to me. If the short game fails him, we got issues. But also what is happening with Henley is his poor shot avoidance is insane. He is one of the most pussy lightest son of a guns ever on approach, it seems like. If you take a look at his strokes gained numbers, he is 14th in the field in strokes gained weighted in this field. So kind of prorating all the different buckets of proximity, because some of them from 150 to 200, you're going to see more of them than wedges from 100 to 150. That's going to weight those buckets more. So he's 14th in strokes gained, but he's 2nd in poor shot avoidance. So what he's doing is not losing half a stroke on approach very often. In fact, Scotty Scheffler is the only person in the field that loses less half strokes on approach than Russell Henley. However, Russell Henley is 99th in good shot rate. So it means that 98 other golfers in this field are hitting shots that are gaining half a stroke on approach for a single shot more than Russell Henley. So that's the thing. He's doing this thing where he just refuses to hit the golf ball close to the hole. But he also refuses to miss the green, essentially. And even if he is missing the green, he's still in a good spot where it's not losing more than half a stroke. So that's the Russell Henley conundrum. And that's potentially why he can't find himself winning golf tournaments as much as he should. Maybe on these more difficult venues, he can. But the way he's putting right now is very interesting, interesting and entertaining, to say the least. So that's Russell Henley's saga there. We'll see what he can do. I'm interested for him to finish inside the top 20 so we can cash that bet at plus 170. Let's rock and roll Russ, the Sex Panther. 65% of the time he's inside the top 20, 100% of the time, baby. Let's go, bud. Let's freaking go. Let's do a spoke about Doug Gim, speak about Tom Hoge. Plus 320 for a top 20. Tom Hoge's been doing this thing where he has been balling out. And I believe that number's down to plus 240 because we were taking too long to get our stuff together. And now Tom Hoge for a top 20 is plus 240 when he was plus 320 when the start of the week began. What has he been up to on the top 20 side of things? Well, 1/3 of the time in the 27 starts he's played in, he's finishing inside of the top 20. So that's 9 of 27 to be exact. The majority of those top 20s have come in the last little while. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them in his last 7 starts. He has come out hot and heavy, ready to party. Tom Hoge wants to throw and roll some dice around TPC Sawgrass at plus 240 for a top 20. In his last 4 starts, he's made the cut here all 4 times and a 5th time prior where he finished 72nd. But in the last 4, he hasn't finished worse than 33rd. We've got a 30th, a 22nd, and last year he finished third. It's all making too much sense. What could possibly go wrong with a situation like this? Who the hell knows? But Hoagie is dialed the hell in on approach right now. He's leading the PGA Tour in strokes gained approach in 2024. This field includes Scotty Scheffler. This field includes Benny On, Tony Finau. I don't know why I said Benny On. Misread there. Tony Finau. We've got guys like Christian Bezuidenhout, who's been balling out. Tom Hoagie leads them all. He's fifth in ball striking, and he's 70th off the tee. Ball striking is off the tee and approach. He's fifth with 70th off the tee numbers. So that just goes to show you how good he is hitting his irons right now. His weighted good shot rate is first. So he's a little aggressive when it comes to these kind of situations. So there's kind of a proportional inverse relationship, it seems. I'll have to investigate this with good shot and poor shot avoidance. The more good shots you have, the like you probably got to take on a bit more risk to potentially incur a poor shot. And Hoagie is first in good shot rate, but 78th in poor shot avoidance. But that still works out to be the 8th best strokes gainer on approach weighted wise over the last 12 months. He's good from pretty much every single range. He does have a lot of poor shots from 150 to 200. So we'll see what he can do. I love what Tom Hoagie's up to. If he can win this thing, he's going to win it. And we have a Tom Hoagie ticket at 100 to 1. We have a Tom Hoagie ticket at 100 to 1. Pop that in the Discord. I think that's now down what? Tom Hoagie on DraftKings is 65 to 1 right now. So that's come down all the way. But yes, it is time at TDAC. We are going Hoagie coin to the moon, baby. We're going to bark like a dog and do it like it's our job. Looking forward to some fun stuff from Tom Hoagie. If he wins this tournament, boy, oh boy, will that be exciting. That will be amazing. And he can ball strike his way to paradise. He's also been putting okay. Usually Tom Hoagie's a poor putter. He's been putting the 47th best putter in the field. In his baseline situation, putting has been 78th. So there's some improvement there. There's definitely some improvement from Hoagie. Let's see what he can get up to. Scooting on down. Here's Nikolai Højgaard all the way in, 51st spot of the model. And we're going to take a quick second to bring up Mathieu Pavon again. Yeah, TDAC. Mathieu Pavon is minus 110 over Nikolai Højgaard to beat him for a 72-hole matchup. Nikolai, over the last little while, is more like Nika why. Like, why are we not playing good golf? Because you should. You're very talented, but somehow he's just not getting it done. So we're going to pull up them side by side to kind of take a quick peek at their recent form, how they compare to each other. And it's going to make a lot of sense why we kind of bet this number in a pick'em situation. The upside rating is like 49 spots better for Pavon. The recent form is 50 spots better in strokes gained. And if we go all the way over to their finishes, the hilarity of this situation is that Pavon beat Højgaard at the Farmers to win it. Højgaard finished second. But outside of that, every other tournament they've played in, Pavon has beat him. And obviously now Pavon is playing in these designated events and not the piss-willy Mexico Opens that Højgaard has to. And finishing 52nd in a Mexico Open for Nikolai. Like, I don't understand what's going on with his game. Since that second place finish at the Farmers, we haven't had a finish better than 31st. We haven't had a finish better than 31st. In Pavon's 1, 2, 6 starts, his second worst finish is 39th. Like, his upside has been incredible. His floor has been incredible. He's been first, third, and seventh, so he's floating around the top of the board. Højgaard could potentially miss the cut this week. It's a strong field. It's a field that takes his driver out of his hands. If you take a look at what Højgaard does well, ball striking off the tee, 26th in the field. We don't have data for him, so he's 117th in the model, but it is what it is. We are going to remove that from his hands at a venue like this. So at minus 110, I went a full unit there. I think this is an awesome matchup. It was my silver bet on the Mayo show. I think we can potentially see Højgaard missing the cut, cashing this bad boy on Friday. Anything is possible in golf, though. You never know. But it just seems like it was a misprice at minus 110, if you're asking me, based off the information that we have. Ernie's whimpering over there. He doesn't like it. I don't know why. He doesn't know anything about golf, and he should be just sticking to the Champions Tour. And if you don't know who Ernie is, that's my dog. Named after the Big Easy, Ernie Els. All right. So let's filter out of that situation and get back to business. We have more outrights to speak about, I believe, because we've spoken about Mathieu Pavon. We've spoken about Tom Hoagie. Let's keep on scooting down the board here too. I was really interested in Jake Knapp. We're just going to kind of just keep him on the back burner right now and see what happens. But let's chat about silly Billy Horschel over here at 200 to 1. Billy freaking Horschel, folks. He has got some interesting comp situations. He played really nicely at Sedgefield. Miles, if you're still in the chat here, check here's Billy Horschel's situation. At Sedgefield, he's gained an average of 2 strokes on the field in his multiple starts there. If you go over to Innisbrook Copperhead, not necessarily the best situation there. He's only played there once. So that's going to give him some bad strokes gained because I think you're timesing it by a certain amount. At Harbortown, he's gained 0.9 strokes on the field. Had some good results in 2018. TPC Southwind played nicely there in 2019. Kind of lost the plot in the last 2 years, but I think Billy Horschel's playing much better golf again. We'll see what he can get up to. So I'm in the mood for that. And then there's also some recent form that Billy Horschel has. He finished 18th at the Sony, another kind of a semi-comp course, and has finished 9th at the Cognizant just not so long ago. So if we see those kind of increases in skill and confidence in his game, I'm down for 200 to 1 Billy Horschel. The guy wins golf tournaments. He won at the Memorial at, I think, 90 to 1. So out of nowhere, he can win these things. And I think maybe he's kind of trending in the right direction. If you've bet Billy Horschel, he's actually returned you some dollars in the top 10 and top 20. Not a lot, but he's been profitable. We'll see what he can do. I don't want to bet him any placements or anything like that. Maybe we bet him top 5. I guess that would hardly cost us anything to do, right? What is the Billy Horschel top 5? It is going to be 22 to 1. So let's bet Billy Horschel 22 to 1 as well for a top 5. It's going to cost us zip. And if he finishes inside the top 5, then we're looking pretty. We might even find better numbers out there because that's at DraftKings at plus 130 at 130 to 1. So that makes sense. I like that a lot. Let's add that to the mix here for a top 5 when the model wants to listen to us and go from there. That's our second last outright on the card. So we're kind of making our way downtown here, walking at a mild pace and getting at some point adding this to the model here so we don't forget, because I want to make sure I bet Billy Horschel at plus 2,200 for a top 5. He's done it 6% of the time. It's telling us 4%. So there's a tiny little edge there. I think he's going to play some good golf this week. Hopefully that comes through for us. Or do we want to do a top 10? Maybe that's the way to go. Billy Horschel top 10 is plus 900. And he's, let's do the 22 to 1. I like that for a top 5. Minimal exposure, high upside. Let's do it. Cool beans. And then our final one, T-Dac, is Nick Taylor. You got me on him. I kind of went with the flow. I wasn't quite in the mood to bet him, but at 220 to 1, that makes tons of sense for a literal win on the PGA Tour at the Waste Management Phoenix Open not so long ago. If he finds himself in contention, he ain't afraid to hang. He's a savage. He's like Max Homer. He finishes tournaments out. Tommy Fleetwood has not been the same since Nick Taylor got done with him at the RBC Canadian Open. What it took was a soft, gutless, wimpy Ricky Fowler to give Tommy Fleetwood his confidence back for a brief period of time at the Ryder Cup. Gosh darn it. But, hey, that's behind us now. Nick Taylor, though, Savage City, We're going to love what he can get up to. I have no idea where he is even on the model. Let's just search his name because I doubt there's much to go off of. He's all over the place when it comes to this kind of stuff. He's very up and down. 31st, not terrible. Look at this win rate. He's won you $179 on the PGA Tour, betting him to win 100, and that is a rate of return of 789%. He's been profitable across all the different markets. We like that about old BDN. And let's see what he's got up to over the last little while. The approach play has been dialed the hell in with the putter looking good. So between those two situations, if he can keep his driver in play, we are looking good. The weighted strokes gain numbers, the green regulation rates, all of the iron stuff is looking very good from a weighted perspective here. He's solid on good shots from 150 to 200. Love all of that jazz. Very good out of the rough with a wedge. Not so hot out the rough with a long iron, but he hits a lot of greens with the long iron out the rough. 8th in the field in that department. If he can avoid sucking it up on a round 2, he typically finds some love over the weekend. Finished 12th at the API. So that's some good form entering the week. And what's he done at the Players? I don't believe very well. We've got a 16th place finish in 2019. Outside of that, nothing better than a 48th. So a lot to go off of for a guy that's 220 to 1, who's won twice in the last 8 months. I mean, you know. So that's the situation with old Nick over here. I can't believe I wasn't even in the mood to bet the guy, but here we are. We've got the ticket and we're going to rock and roll. So that's the situation. Those are all our bets. I'm going to go through them just to make sure that we haven't missed anything. But that's been a fun little show. I have to go do another show now that we did an hour worth of recording and we didn't hit the record button. That was a brutal situation. I haven't heard that much pain in another guy's voice since I can't tell you when. It was a brutal situation. So we're going to go back again. So that's going to be that's part number 5 for the day. So your boys out here doing the Lord's work for content. You guys better smash that freaking like button because I've been grinding away. I'm just kidding. You guys do whatever you want with your likes. I'm going to hang on to the moon. Yeah. 4-time PGA Tour winner, Nick Taylor, 220 to 1. What are we doing? So that's the situation. This is where we are. We had the Rotoballer PGA show on Monday nights at 9:30 Eastern. We've got the research show that I do on Back 9 Bets on Sundays at 9:30 Eastern, 9 o'clock Eastern. Me and Joe Nicely are going to be doing The Sopranos for Hacking It in Hollywood tomorrow. I know it's not everybody's favorite show because it's not necessarily all golf, but it's fun to chat about golfers who could cast themselves in the role of Sopranos characters. So I'm looking forward to that. The Sopranos is a great show. It's held the test of time. I watched it recently. Hadn't watched it because I'm a South African that grew up there. And when it came out, it wasn't necessarily what we were watching in South Africa. So looking forward to The Sopranos. Go check out the Preferred Lines podcast with Steve Bamford and Joe Idoni. Please go do that. If you're using code MANIAC, you'll get yourself 10% off everything at Rotoballer. That is on the premium side of things. We've got ourselves with the expert roundtables. We've got research stations, optimizers, my showdown models, Spencer's models, my models, Discord access so you can see all these odds as they come out like that so that you don't bet a Nick Taylor at plus 220 to 1, but now he's 130 to 1. So there's situations that you can almost, in closing value, pay for it. If you're betting the same bets and only doing it off the show and the article and not in the Discord, you're potentially netting out, I would imagine, over the period of time if you're just in the Discord and betting the right numbers, because your odds are going to be much crappier if you're using them on the show. So just a little teaser there to guys get you in there. I'm trying to do this thing full time. I'm grinding my balls off. I appreciate you guys. Like, if you sign up using Code Maniac, it gets me a little bit of money too. And then I can one day, maybe, once we grow the Rotoballer empire into just a beautiful, beautiful world of coexisting golf bettors that can subsidize my well-being, then I can give you even more energy and quit accounting. And then we are looking good. So that's the situation over there. I appreciate you, Miles, for being in the chat. I appreciate all of you, Brian, T-Dak, and the gang Jeff. You guys were rocking it in the chat there, keeping me up to speed. I appreciate all of you. Let's have a phenomenal Players Championship. Let's win some bets. We've got 10 outrights. We've got a bunch of placements, a matchup or two, and my one and done is Max Homer. Let's have a week.